Okay. I'm speaking tonight for a number of the broadcast faculty. Rick Peterson, particularly, who could not be here tonight, had a lot of things he wanted to communicate, and so I'll do that, attempt to do that. Our next Young Alum winner is Chuck Ringwalt. When he was a student here at USC, Chuck distinguished himself in the senior semester newsroom. Rick Peterson, who was one of his professors, and he unfortunately couldn't be here tonight. He's telling me that Chuck's work set the standard in the senior semester, and he was a leader among his fellow students. Rick conveyed that he was impressed by the fact that while he was a student, he also worked at a local station, WLTX, which is very unusual for a student to be doing that at the same time they're in school. Currently, Chuck is news anchor and multimedia journalist for Spectrum News 1 in Columbus, Ohio, where he's been since August 2018. He's the main co-anchor for the Your Morning show at News 1, and Chuck's reporting at News 1 has won him an Emmy and also an Associated Press Award. His colleague at News 1, Andy Vance, so I'm going to give you some names. You got to take them out for a beer here when you get back. Andy Vance says of Chuck, "I've been struck by his passion for the audience and bringing them content that adds value to their daily lives." Another colleague, Carl Turner, says Chuck is a rising star in journalism. His on-air work alone is worthy of the recognition that he's gotten, but he's also a superior newsroom citizen. He took it on himself to develop training manuals for new multimedia journalists at our station, and he always goes above and beyond to help his colleagues. So our second outstanding young alum is Chuck Ringwalt. Chuck, come on up.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I appreciate it. Would you hold that? One more. Thank you. Okay, perfect. Thank you. You bet. Thank you all very much for having me. It's definitely a blessing. Everybody, we all here say, proud to be a Gamecock, but I certainly feel blessed to be a Gamecock. My time here and the relationships that I've been able to make and the people that have helped me along the way. So I'd like to use this time just to say thank you to all those people, if you don't mind bearing with me a little bit. First, I want to thank God. I want to thank my fiance, Emily, who joined me here tonight. Thank you very much for being here. My mom and my dad especially. I still remember in 2011, I think it was, my dad and I were at the corner of Sumter and College Street, and the sun was going down like it was when we were all out there today, and it just felt like home. I know for a little while we had that advertising that was saying, Carolina's home, and it truly felt that way when I got here. I'm originally from the Philadelphia area, so I was a ways away from home. I'm the oldest of four boys, so it was hard for my parents to say goodbye when I came down here. But with the faculty and with friends that I made, it was a blessing just to be a part of this family. Van, Danielle, Dean Reichert, thank you so much for having me tonight. I met Greg Brannon, who was teaching senior semester now. He's incredible, seems like a superb guy, so it was nice to meet him. And then I have a long list here. Erica Lake was my U101 professor. She's just a treasure. She's incredible. So if you see her, please tell her I said thanks. Jack Carless, Journalism 201, could not have been more supportive starting out. Karen Flowers taught 202, so I learned a lot about AP style from Professor Flowers. And probably a very pivotal moment for me, she had an assignment where you interviewed someone in the field in which you wanted to get into. From the Philadelphia area, Channel 6 Action News is, the upper echelon, right, of TV journalism, especially in the Philadelphia area. Kenneth Moten, who I'm sure many of you, if not all of you know, was there at the time, and I reached out to him for a Skype interview, and he could not have been more kind. He had me at Channel 6 twice, allowed me to shadow him, and I think he set in motion a series of events in my life that I could not be more grateful for. Mary Beth Jacoby, they were connected, was able to shoot football on Friday nights at WLTX, which turned into being a photographer on the weekends and shooting Pacers, and that turned into being on the assignment desk for 2 days of the week and reporting for 3. And it really all started here at Carolina. Karen Flowers, Kenneth Moten, Mary Beth Jacoby. So the list of people, when they say it's all about who you know, the connections that you make, the relationships you foster, there is a lot of truth to that. Randy, you have been a huge help. You taught me a lot about storytelling, so thank you for that. Funny story, I unfortunately got mono the year I was taking Randy's class. And you talk about it being a tough course. He looked at me and he goes, "Chuck, I think you might want to drop this course." I said, "Randy, I can't. You don't understand. I can't drop this course." My parents said, "You go to college for 4 years. You can't go to college for 5." So we made it through. So I want to say thank you to that. Taylor Kearns was a huge help as well. David Weintraub, I understand that he's passed, so he was a blessing, learning a lot about InDesign and a lot of skills on the computer. Art Farlow, I remember bothering him from sunup to sundown, and him taking out this giant piece of paper that had every course I had ever taken and trying to figure out how do you mix and match to make sure you graduate on time. So he is just unbelievable. Doug Fisher, learned a lot about AP style. And I don't think I was one of your students, but you sat in and were a guest lecturer in a lot of my classes. So thank you for everything that you've done and all your posts on Facebook helping students. I know that you mean a lot to all the graduates of Carolina. Chris Hubner, Beverly Dominic, tough cookie to crack, but when I cracked her, she could not have been nicer. Unbelievable. Jay Bender, I'm very proud, even though it was a C, passed his class. I sip from that mug that he hands out. If you're unaware of Jay Bender's mugs, it says I passed Jay Bender's media law course, so that is phenomenal. It sits in my kitchen. I'll be drinking out of it when I get back. Dick Moore, ethics and journalism. He was a ton of help, especially as a young student. Rick Peterson and Harvey Knocklinger, unbelievable. They certainly prepare students for being ready. Working those 3 years at WLTX, that day in, day out, 9 a.m. To 4, and then going to work at LTX. I learned a lot from them, and they definitely pushed you. I couldn't afford a car when I was in college. My dad helped me buy a moped, and we had to go out and shoot stories. They said, "Chuck, you got to find something good." I drove at 6 a.m. On the moped all the way to McGrady Training Center in Eastover in early spring with the gear on my back and a tripod. I had 18-wheelers flying by me. The gentleman at the South Carolina Youth Challenge felt so bad for me that he was such a big guy. He lifted my moped up, put it in the bed of his truck, and drove me back into town. So that was like the first package that I was ever really able to put together that I was proud of, and they even let me air it at Channel 19. So that was a very proud moment for me. And definitely last but certainly not least, Dean Bierbauer. I don't take any of my relationships with all of you lightly, especially you, Dean. I know I bothered you as well as other faculty members, sun up to sundown again. But with different scholarships, the Morrow Scholarship meant a lot to myself. My family was able to go to Chicago and learn a lot from some of the best business journalists in the country, really. And it was just a phenomenal experience. I worked in housing as a resident mentor too, so I want to thank the housing department, Josh Wise and Dan Colacione. If you see them, tell them I said thanks. And in high school, I had a guidance counselor that said, "Chuck, you haven't reached your potential, but I see that you have it." And that meant a lot. And I tell everybody that. We all have a lot of potential, and whether we achieve it fully or not, life's about trying to fulfill that potential, meeting people that can help push you along the way, and hopefully doing that for the people that come after you. And at least, you giving out your personal number, that's inspiring right there. So always being able to lend a hand out for other people. And I just want to say that USC encouraged me to work toward fulfilling that, and there really is an emphasis on building relationships if you're willing to put in the work. So I just want to again say thank you. I hope to be a strong representation of not only the university but this school. If there's any way that I could help any of you, you have all of my information now. Would love to help out. And at Spectrum, we do things a little bit differently than the typical broadcasting news station. But I would love it if I could help open up a pipeline for students coming out of school that could, make their way in to fill those positions. We have a lot open right now, and I think we do a lot of great work. So again, proud to be a Gamecock, but I'm blessed to be a Gamecock. Thank you very, very much.